They woke the world to their magic, and their wizardry transcends time. Many have passed on, but their heroics live forever. On football's greatest stage, the gods of the game have earned their encore. Pelé, Beckenbauer, Cruyff, Maradona, revered today by generations unborn when they weave their spell. In the favelas of South America, up laneways throughout Europe, on the dirt roads of any African village, the deeds of the past inspire the players of tomorrow. It's the cup of hope, the cup of dreams. It's football's biggest prize on the greatest stage of all. Sometimes we need reminding. So look at this. He's in his prime. Such pace, such mobility, such charisma. The power of Ronaldo was something to behold. That was just one goal at Barcelona in one glorious season in the mid-1990s, ahead of the first of his 3 World Player of the Year awards, and his dramatic, theatric, incredible performances at 3 World Cups. On football's greatest stage, Ronaldo was at his finest. And that's, after all, the true measure of a career, producing for your nation when it counts most. Had the injuries which slowed him down in the second half of his career not been so debilitating, he might just have been the greatest of all time. El Fenomeno, the phenomenon. Ronaldo is Brazil's second highest goal scorer of all time. He's 62 in 98 appearances behind only, of course, Pelé with 77 in 92. But at the World Cup, Ronaldo scored 15 times in 3 tournaments, to Pelé's 12 in 4. But those numbers tell barely a fraction of the story. Ronaldo was named in Brazil's squad at the age of 17 for the 1994 World Cup, but only for the experience. He didn't play a game, but by the time of the 1998 World Cup, he was at Inter Milan and the best player in the world.
I am very much motivated, and I feel more motivated after what I have received. But I still have many titles left to conquer. And my dream is, of course, to play in the World Cup in France and win the title for Brazil.
The stage was set. Ronaldo's dramatic World Cup debut in 1998 and his journey on football's greatest stage after the break. When the 22-year-old Ronaldo hit Paris in 1998, he held the game's 2 highest individual honours, the 1997 Ballon d'Or and FIFA Player of the Year. There was no question he was the biggest name on football's greatest stage. And when he scored 4 goals in Brazil's march to the final, including 2 in the round of 16 against Chile, and his team's lone goal in the semi-final against Netherlands, he had already done enough to win the tournament's Golden Ball for Best Player. But what happened just after lunch on the day of the final against France would become one of World Cup history's most controversial and mysterious events. Ronaldo suffered a convulsive fit. He was foaming at the mouth, struggling, breathing with a lot of difficulty, and very pale, according to teammate Gonçalves. The young champion's roommate, Roberto Carlos, screamed for help, and the man credited with saving his life was defender Sampaio. Edmundo held down the star player, while Sampaio, senior heading balls to the champion, prevented him from swallowing his tongue. The world was stunned when he was left off the team sheet before being reinstated at the last minute. Many believe under sponsors' instructions. Ronaldo shouldn't have played. A drawn, reserved shadow of himself. The French ran all over him and his team, winning 3-0.
I wanted to play at all costs and asked if he couldn't just do the tests before the game. So I went to the clinic just before the match. I don't think that the outcome of the match had anything to do with what happened. I went onto the pitch wanting to win and play well, but unfortunately it didn't happen.
Fast forward to 2002, and at just 25 they said he was washed up. He had barely played since rupturing a tendon in his knee with Inter in 1999. Setback after setback meant he missed Brazil's entire qualifying campaign. But he didn't miss the World Cup. He scored 8 goals, including 2 in the final, matching Pelé's total 12, and taking him to his 3rd World Player of the Year trophy and his 2nd Ballon d'Or. By 2006, he really was past his best. On wobbly knees and unable to put enough miles in his legs to physically get down to appropriate fitness, he could produce only cameo football. Enough to score 3 more times to break German Gerd Muller's World Cup record, but not enough to take his Brazil team past the quarterfinals. Even then, he tried to keep playing the game he loved, even though he knew, like everyone else, the glory days were gone. And the Brazilian fans and all lovers of football still cheered wherever he went. The media fund, poked at his fitness or fatness, could never ruin the affection the Brazil people had for their champion. Pelé will always be Brazil's greatest World Cup hero. But there's a fair question to be asked about Ronaldo and his knees. What if? Ronaldo's 1998 problem was not the first time the best player of the tournament had gone into the final below peak fitness and came away disappointed. The great Hungarian, Ferenc Puskas, was expected to lead his team to victory in the 1954 World Cup in Switzerland. After 2 goals in a 9-0 rout of South Korea, Puskas scored 17 minutes into the 2nd match against West Germany. But soon after, he was kicked by West German centre-half, Werner Liebrich. Puskas believed it was deliberate, causing a hairline fracture of his ankle. And it was said to be the kick that won the World Cup. Puskas missed the quarter-final and semi-final, and in the rematch against West Germany in the final, was severely hampered by his injury. The great man still scored the first goal. Liebrich unable to stop him, but the West Germans won the match, dubbed the Miracle of Bern. Every goalkeeper knows it. The story is not about them, it's about the strikers, the gun midfielders, the ones who score the goals which win the matches. But in our regular segment, Keep It Clean, the goalies get their moment. And this time, it's arguably the most famous keeper of them all, and certainly the most famous Russian footballer of them all, Lev Yashin. Yashin never won a World Cup, but he played in 4 of them from 1958 to 1970. an icon of Dynamo Moscow in Russia's domestic league. Football's greatest stage provided him the forum to display to the world his pioneering style of goalkeeping. Unafraid to leave the net, ordering his defenders to position and launching counterattacks, he carved a pathway to today's sweeper keepers. So fit and flexible for his era, it appeared he had 8 arms. And when he wore all black in several of his Russian teams, he earned the nickname the Black Spider. Even if he was more commonly dressed in green. 10 years after winning an Olympic gold medal with the Soviet Union in the 1956 Melbourne Olympic Games, Yashin was the driving influence in the Soviets' only World Cup semi-final appearance in 1966 and their only European championship in 1960. When he retired in 1971, the list of international greats who travelled to Moscow for his testimonial game included Pelé, Eusebio, Bobby Charlton, Gerd Müller, and Franz Beckenbauer. Yashin's reflexes took him to 151 penalty saves and 270 clean sheets, and his devotion to his homeland secured him the Order of Lenin. There was no higher honour for a Russian citizen, but for a citizen of the beautiful game, there were 3 awards even greater. The first, his 1963 Ballon d'Or, still the only time the game's biggest individual honour has gone to a goalkeeper. He was also judged goalkeeper of the 20th century by FIFA. And in 1994, FIFA named the trophy for best goalkeeper at the World Cup, the Lev Yashin Award. It's since been renamed the Golden Glove. But for Russia 2018, the trophy's symbolism and connection to Lev Yashin will be overpowering. As we go to the break, we head back to the very first World Cup in Uruguay, 1930. Do you know which footballer wrote his name into trivia legend by scoring the first ever goal in a World Cup tournament? The answer up next. When we'll also take an in-depth look at the World Cup, which had everything: politics, war, and game-changing tactics. España, 82. The first match of the first World Cup was between France and Mexico on July 13, 1930. 19 minutes in, the French amateur right forward Lucien Laurent volleyed home the first goal in France's 4-1 victory. Laurent was the only survivor of that first team to witness France's win on home soil in the 1998 World Cup. He died in 2005, aged 97. As the full house of 90,000 spectators headed enthusiastically to their seats at the Estadio Santiago Bernabeu in Madrid, they knew one thing: that the España 82 final would be a contrast of styles. Two European giants. Italy, so expressive off the pitch, but traditionally a team built around caution. And West Germany, dour by nature, although on the field of battle, a side of flair. They also knew something else: that no matter what happened, 1982 would go down as the cup that had everything. The politics have been dramatic, the venues superb, and the football trend-setting. So trend-setting, the game would never be the same. The Spaniards had 16 years to prepare for their hosting duties. Awarded the cup in a backroom deal with West Germany way back during the 1966 World Cup in England. When FIFA decided to lock away 1974 to the Germans, 78 to Argentina, and 82 to Spain, all in one hit. For the first time in 1982, the tournament was expanded from 16 teams to 24. Algeria, Cameroon, Honduras, Kuwait, and New Zealand all making their first appearances in a final tournament. With a new format requiring 52 matches in 29 days. But with two of the biggest and best stadiums in the world, the Bernabeu in Madrid and Camp Nou in Barcelona, a record 17 venues in 14 cities, and a passionate football-mad population, Spain was up to the challenge. Initially, the biggest political concern was whether the Basque Country could unite with the rest of the nation to safely invite the rest of the world. But by the time the tournament arrived, the biggest political storm involved the Falklands War between Argentina and England. England came close to boycotting the tournament along with Scotland and Northern Ireland. The debate throwing the spotlight on Tottenham Hotspur's Argentinian midfielder, Osvaldo Ardiles.
Armed police guard the entrance to the Argentine football training camp as the squad work out their final World Cup tactics. Even so, there's one place in the fence where you can catch a glimpse of what's going on, and so it's always crowded with young fans and press photographers. Since his return from England, Osvaldo Ardiles has been in daily training with the 40-strong squad. He's of course almost certain to play in the World Cup and could just face England in the later stages of the competition. After the training session, he said he hoped that England would not pull out of the World Cup.
I don't think so. I think England is going to play.
You think they should play?
I think they should, but I think they are going to play. Probably this is a lot of politics about, but I think politics have to be apart from sport.
Do you think there may be difficulties? Suppose Argentina met England in one of the final games.
I don't think so. It's going to be only a game of football, and the best team in the day is going to win, and that's it.
In the end, both teams were eliminated in round two. England and Argentina wouldn't meet until 1986. In a quirk, Italy qualified from their round one group despite not winning a single match, while Cameroon, in its first appearance, failed to qualify despite not losing a single match. 3 draws for the Azzurri secured second spot behind Poland on goal aggregate. Italy's game was built on defence, and its stars of 82 were goalkeeper and captain Dino Zoff, and the elegant and tactically brilliant Gaetano Scirea, arguably the greatest sweeper ever to pull on the blue shirt. Playing the villain to Scirea's gentlemanly class was tough defender Claudio Gentile and Fulvio Colavati, who both made the 1982 FIFA All-Star team. The Azzurri's winless group stage, however, attracted media criticism, and most of the pressure was on controversial striker Paolo Rossi, returning from a 2-year ban over the betting scandal known as Totonero. Rossi failed to score in the group stage, and the Italian media declared he was the ghost of Paolo Rossi wandering aimlessly over the field. He failed to score again in the first match of the second stage when Claudio Gentile monstered Argentinian young gun Diego Maradona out of the game. But in the second match, Rossi exploded with all 3 goals in an historic victory over Brazil. The first after 5 minutes, and when Brazil drew level, he scored again. And when they drew level again, he scored a 3rd time. In the years Pelé took the Brazilians to 3 World Cup trophies, they could afford to play carefree football. But when Rossi sliced through their defence, they knew they had to get serious, become accountable, play safe. That's why their great 1982 midfielder Zico described the match as the death of football. Italy was up against old foe Poland in the semi-final. They had drawn 0-0 in the group stage, but with Rossi's awakening, the semi-final in Barcelona was no contest. He scored both goals, and the Italian fans were delirious, knowing they would be heading to Madrid for their 4th World Cup final. Their opponents, West Germany, had edged France in a semi-final described as one of the greatest World Cup games ever. With 4 goals in extra time and locked at 3-3, it went to a shootout, the first time a World Cup match had been decided on penalties. Even in defeat, French captain Michel Platini famously described it as the most beautiful game. So it came to Italy versus West Germany. While Rossi was white hot for the Italians, the Germans were pinning their hopes on captain Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, whose 5 goals were tied with Rossi for the Golden Boot. But after a scoreless first half, Rossi broke the deadlock at the 57-minute mark. 12 minutes later, another defining moment of España 82 came with Marco Tardelli's goal. The midfielder clenched his fists and with tears in his eyes ran to the Italian bench, screaming in delight. It became known as the Tardelli cry. "I was born with that scream inside me," he said. A third Italian goal followed from Alessandro Altobelli at 81 minutes. Paul Breitner pulled one back, but Italy had won its 3rd World Cup. At 40, captain and goalkeeper Dino Zoff had become the oldest player to ever hold the World Cup trophy, and he also won the Golden Glove as best goalkeeper. Rossi not only won the Golden Shoe as leading goalscorer, but the Golden Ball as best player. Italy had won the tournament, which had begun so badly for them. Spain had overcome their domestic instability to host with panache, and the game had risen to new levels. España 82 was the cup with everything. Still to come, the brain in Spain, Vicente Del Bosque. Even the greatest players need direction. And on football's greatest stage, the director becomes even more important. While success might have seemed a given with the players at his disposal, Spain's 2010 World Cup winning coach, Vicente Del Bosque, was a master in man management. A tough, defensive midfielder for 16 seasons with Real Madrid, he took on more of the appearance of a kindly uncle, mediating the rivalry and massaging the egos of the Barcelona and Real Madrid megastars in his team. Despite his links to Real Madrid stars like Iker Casillas and Sergio Ramos, he was also able to get the best out of Barca's Gerard Piqué, Xavi, and Andres Iniesta. Del Bosque also showed a steel mind for tactics and tic-tacs. Part of Del Bosque's magic was honing Spain's tiki-taka style, while his predecessor, Luis Aragonés, was chief architect of tiki-taka. Del Bosque will go down as the man who perfected it. He was fated for great things from the first, orchestrating a flawless World Cup qualifying campaign and becoming the first manager of any national team to claim 10 straight victories on debut. Vicente Del Bosque steered Spain for 114 games as manager over 8 years, amassing 87 victories, including the 2012 Euro off the back of Spain's first World Cup victory in 2010. King Juan Carlos of Spain thought so highly of his performance, he canonized him as the first Marquis of Del Bosque. La Roja was seemingly cemented at the top of world football, but what followed was a major turnover of key players. The tiki-taka approach that had so baffled the world became unstitched in the year following the Euro title defence. Spain was eliminated in the group stage of the 2014 World Cup and the round of 16 at Euro 2016. Del Bosque announced his retirement, and the tributes were long and generous, his legacy untarnished. Having guided Real Madrid at the turn of the century, he is held aloft as the first manager in history to win Champions League, the European Championship and the World Cup, ensuring the first Marquis of Del Bosque goes down as a master director on football's greatest stage.